This video will show you how to filter out a large majority of the chat spam in World of Warcraft. As you can see now on my screen, there is a ton of trade chat spam. And on the left here, you can see the time. It doesn't even take a minute for it to fill up the screen. It is trade chat. I mean, that's what it's for. But it's very spammy and it may not pertain to you. So you get to configure what you want to see and what you want to filter. There are a couple add-ons that are good for this. I used to use BadBoy, and it does a lot of automated cleaning on its own. You don't really know what's going on in the background, but it seems to do pretty good. It has an extra component called BadBoy CCleaner, and I think the only thing that does is it lets you add keywords, which is fabulous. You can put your own things in there and filter out junk that you know you don't want to see. I'm actually going to use something today called Global Ignore List. It does the same thing as BadBoy CCleaner in the fact that you can do keyword filtering. So why would I use Global Ignore List instead? You can do an unlimited number of ignores in chat. So if you get people that are spammy and they don't match your keywords, you can just right click them and ignore them permanently, or you can set like a default. I usually do like 30 days. I use the Twitch app over here to manage my add-ons. If you don't use this, that's fine. You don't have to use the Twitch app. The nice thing about it is it auto updates and it's easy to find things. But whether or not you're using the app, you can just search for Global Ignore List. I usually sort by how many downloads there are. And actually, there's a lot of things that kind of match those words. So it's the 100,000 download one here somewhere. There it is. Global Ignore List and Chat Spam Filter. So I'm going to hit install, but I'll have to close WoW for it to take effect. So it's updated. I'm going to restart WoW. So we're back in WoW now. We still have all the spam because we haven't done anything. Hit O, which is your friends list, and it brings up the Global Ignore List. So these are people that this app is aware that I have ignored. I have done none yet, and we'll talk about that later maybe. This is the important part for cleaning up the spam. So it's got some default stuff. I'm going to turn those off. Gotta remember how. Oh yeah, click active. And the reason I'm turning them off is because I want to start fresh, knowing exactly what I filtered, not what someone else chose. What I do use these for is as good examples, because there's a couple ways to filter. One is, if you look here, on this one it says if it contains want to sell. That's different from, I'm trying to find one on here, where it says word equals. That means the whole word has to match that. So if you do contains, it'll do a partial. Like if somebody typed WTS runs with no space, this would catch it. So let's do some testing here with the want to sell. I'm going to make my own though, because I like to start fresh. So I made this one, double click. I'm just going to call it want to sell. And then I think this is contains, oops, and then WTS. Okay, now you can test this filter to see if you did it right here. So you can do want to sell, and you click test, and it tells you right here if it would have blocked that if it saw it or not. So if you had made a typo, it won't obviously fire. See, passed means the chat got through. So, and like I was saying before, if you do word equals want to sell, that'll work. See, it did block it, but if they said want to sell runs, that shouldn't work because it's not the actual word. See, that spam got through. So you have to decide if it's going to work for you with the whole word or contains. That should block it this time. There. So you don't need to leave anything there. You just have to have what you want to call it here and the criteria here and save it. All right, it's on here. So you can really kind of just watch the chat and see what is a lot of spam. I already have a few things that I typed out here. I don't buy things from trade chat, so I take care of all the commerce stuff. There is a way to add these together. It looks like you can put an or between them, so I might do that. So I'm just going to change this to commerce, and then or. I'm just going to copy this first. Want to buy. Okay, we'll test it. Want to buy. It blocked it. Okay, so we've combined want to sell and want to buy in the same filter. What else do we have? Buying and selling. So we're just going to copy all this with the or and that space, makes it easier. I'll just paste it twice real quick. Now, you may have already figured this out. If you put too many things in here that are common words, you're going to actually block conversation. Like if some guy typed, I'm going to buy a car, I'm buying a car, IRL, yeah, you're going to not see that. So you can get too aggressive. Of course, on the other hand, what are you missing? You know, if you miss a couple of real things. So I'm testing these. And this also helps you make sure you did type it correctly up there. Okay, see, there's a good example. I did it wrong. I put sellings accidentally. All right, let's see if there's anything else worth demonstrating right now. So you may have noticed in your game, a lot of people type gold only or only gold when they're selling runs. I actually need to look over here because there's quotes that they do sometimes, and I'm not sure how that works. I don't immediately see it, so we might skip that. I might just try it, build it myself. Maybe it doesn't do quotes. Let's just add that into our filter. Okay, so contains gold only. We'll just test that real quick. Now gold itself shouldn't work. Oh, it's filter error. So maybe it doesn't do quotes. This would have been a great thing to figure out before I started recording a video. I would call that a great flaw, and I'm probably just not knowing what to do. I'll try putting quotes in, but I don't think it works. Yeah, so filter error is just saying it doesn't like that space in there. So if I can't get this to work, you could say that's a plus for BadBoy and BadBoy CCleaner. So we're not going to mess with the ones with spaces today. We're going to keep moving down. I don't join guilds really. I'm a very casual person. I have my own family guild that we use just for banking. So we're going to put recruiting in, but not in this filter because this is our commerce filter. So we're going to make a new filter. Whoops. And we'll just call it guild recruiting. And we remember we like contains mostly. And then recruiting. Test it. It did block the spam. I also like invite. Now that's a little tricky because you may see groups that are looking for people, so that's a little bit aggressive. I might actually leave that out, but a lot of guilds do say whisper for invite. It's probably better to see a couple of spams and not miss a whole lot of actual chat. So tons of them say boosting. So I'm just going to leave this at recruiting there. You can add more words if you see them being common. So now I'm going to add one for, I'm just going to call it, what are we doing here? We're going to call it runs, I guess. Boosting. All right, so type it, test it. Okay, blocked it, saving it. What else? Okay, so this, I think it's called ahead of the curve. I don't really see people in normal conversation mention that, so I think it's safe to put that in the filter. I'm gonna put it under boosting because that's where I usually see it. So you do the or again, and the word ahead of the curve. Testing it, blocked. All right, so I may be done here really just for the example. We did those, we skipped the base ones because either I don't know how it works or it doesn't support it. We did recruiting, we did boosting and AOTC. Now, you can do a lot of good things here. You can put words in like, Trump or political other things, religious things. Like you see here, some of these example ones. This one says anal, just to get rid of all the dumb, anal jokes. This item number, 190191, that's the Thunder Fury link. So it'll look for that actual link and block it. That doesn't bother me. I don't see people do that too much. So this is actual for commercial spam. If you see a com, I don't use this filter. I never see that stuff anymore. Maybe my normal filters catch that. What's this? These are probably like Asian characters, possibly. I'm not certain, but I've never used it. So this would be gold delivery, gold selling, which is obviously illegal. I never buy gold either from Blizzard or sellers. This is pretty similar to mine actually. Want to sell or sell. I don't do sell. I don't think anybody ever just says sell by itself very often. The account, I'm not sure what that would be. Like maybe selling the account, I suppose. Okay, this is actually a good one. And I forgot to do this one. You see how it has contains equals less than and contains equals greater than. So what that's going to do, like if someone types join our, oops, can't type, guild raiders. So this should block it because it's got a less than and a greater than. So see, now I haven't really looked at these other things. I guess these slashes, some people put those in instead of the brackets. So it's a lot of stuff in here. And these ors and ands, you have to be real careful. You're starting to get into sort of, it's called Boolean logic, like computer programming, where you have to figure out what really goes with what. I like to keep it simple, so I'm going to make my own. But actually, I'm probably just going to copy the first part of theirs. That'll be enough for me. So I don't know if I want to put it in here because then I got to deal with Boolean logic. I'll test it. So I'm going to say if it contains recruiting, or, and I think you do parentheses here. I can go check. So you remember in math class, or if you're a programmer, the parentheses means both of these, all of this is evaluated in one piece. So we'll test it. Let's just go ahead and hit that. It says it blocked it. Let's make sure recruiting still works by itself. It does block it. Let's do just a less than. Oh wait, that won't work because it has to have the less than and the greater than. See? So that would have got through. And the order doesn't matter. Blah, blah, blah. Greater than, blah, blah, blah. Less than. It's just carrying that it exists in it. That's what the contains means. So it's going to block it. Now, how good are we doing? If you noticed at the beginning of the video, I had a full screen of garbage, right? And this chat has been running this whole time we've been doing this, but I don't know at which point throughout here each filter was created. But let's look at the minutes. That's a little odd. It says 17 there, 14, 13, 12. So we're going back several minutes here with not a lot of spam. What I do sometimes is I'll just draw a line. It just kind of lets me know how fast things are going. So this is going to be boring sitting here watching nothing show up because we are using these three filters. And just to make you understand that we definitely are filtering and it's not just a slow chat day, I'm going to turn these filters off. The three we just made. All right. Now there's my line where we were. There comes the spam. Actually, that's not spam. It's just looking for group guy chatting. Here comes the spam. Yeah, I call it spam because it's not things I'm interested in. It may be things you're interested in. On a big server, it goes really fast and it's hard to see things. So look how fast that's pouring through. So if you're using one chat window, all your guild stuff's going to get pushed up. Your party stuff's going to get pushed up. This just helps a lot, in my opinion. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you can get your spam knocked out. After I finished recording that, I just noticed that I did not discuss the ignore part of this add-on, and it actually is pretty good. So we have the filters off, obviously, because all this spam is still rolling up. I'll put a line just so we can see how fast it's going again. All right, so what I'm going to do first, there's some settings here. I like to set ignores. 0 means never to expire. I think it's a little harsh because I like to ignore people if they're just being idiots sometimes, and I don't want to ignore them permanently just because they were an idiot last week. So this may seem a little aggressive. I'm going to say 30 days. You can do 14, 7, or 0 for forever if you want. I don't think I usually change anything else here. So let's make sure that did save. Yep, it did. So there's nobody in the ignore list right now. Spam filters are off. I'll turn those on later. So the way you would normally do this is you'd have these filters on, the ones that you like. And in fact, I'm going to delete all these others because I already have mine set up and I don't want to get confused later. All right, so normally we would have these filters on. Well, we can do that. I just don't want to wait a long time on the video when there's no spam. So normally I'd have them on, and sorry for repeating myself multiple times, and you would just ignore somebody who gets through your filter. Only if he's getting kind of spammy, like this guy here, okay? Not to call him out, but I'm calling him out. I've been watching him all evening, and he is like overly critically religious, and he's also very sexual in his chats. And like right here, he's saying, I'm going to kill myself. So, not to be mean, but he's really like not adding anything to my experience. So, I'm just going to right click him and say add to ignore. And now it's adding what note do I want to put. I don't normally put notes, so I'm just going to hit save. And in fact, since it came up with a note, I'm going to come to the setting where it asks for that, asks for a note. See there, I don't want it to ask for that note. So that is a setting I do change. So what's nice, since it's called global ignore list, when you log on with one of your other characters, this add-on will add him to the ignore list over here. So we're watching the rest of the chat here. Okay, this is a real good example. Free armor stacks, keys, 3 deals. So he got through my filters. The first thing I would actually do is look at what he says to see if it looks like there's anything that's really common in there. There's gold only. I really wish that the quotes would have worked for that. So I don't want to deal with that right now, wasting your time while I'm trying to research it. Good luck if you want to try to do that. So I'm just going to ignore him for a month. There he is. If you want to ignore someone permanently, like if someone is super caustic, you right click it, set expiration to 0. Now he will never expire if you just hate him. I think that's pretty much it. Filters are on. I'm ignoring people. I'm going to leave those two actually. I'm just going to set him to 30 because I'm a forgiving person. And he just may be having a bad day and acting up. And this guy, all he's doing is he's just trying to advertise for some runs. Not a horrible person. He may just be doing some runs this week. If he's always doing runs, I'll just catch him in 30 days again. I don't want to permanently ignore somebody unless they're just really bad. So, see this Discord here in this link? You could probably put that in your filters if you never want to see things like that. Common posts are for you to follow their Twitch. That's one thing actually I don't ignore or filter out because it's someone trying to, develop a community. It could be greedy, just trying to get viewers, but usually they're trying to develop a community, and sometimes they have decent content. I don't always go to them. I rarely do, but I'm not going to filter them out. They don't show up that much enough to worry about it. So if you look at chat here, it's mostly clean. There's a little bit going on here. Looking for a guild. You could put LF, but you risk containing words that have those letters or words that contain those letters. So you have to decide how aggressive you want to be and if you're filtering too much. All right, I think that's really it this time. Enjoy. Hope it works for you. After I finished recording that video and logged into WoW again, I noticed this here. Global ignore, adding new spam filter. It put a bunch of things back into the filters, these that I didn't want. And so I remembered that there's a setting here, automatically update default spam filters. So I think you'd probably want that off. That's probably a good thing if you forgot how to do a filter and you don't want to Google it. You can hit that, relog, and it'll put those default ones back in there. But now I got to go back and delete all the junky ones. And it actually turned them on too, which is a little bit annoying. All right, that's it.